Hello, this is Joanne of Kaduna. Welcome to the channel. Here we talk about environmental sustainability, especially from a Nigerian point of view. It is no news that Nigeria is the waste capital of Africa. Nigeria generates over 32 million tons of waste every year. Out of a huge sea of waste, or will I say huge bed of waste, only 20 to 30% of this waste is actually managed. What happens to the remaining 70 to 80% of this waste? We see them in our drainages, in our gutters. We see them on our streets. We see them on our streets. We see them on water bodies. We see them in the soil, and gradually we are beginning to see them in our food. Microplastics. Nigeria has a huge waste problem because the amount of waste management companies that we have in Nigeria is very little compared to the overflowing population, compared to the ever-growing population that we have. And that means that they cannot be able to cater to our waste management needs. And also government's negligence is also inside it, But here's something that could manage our waste crisis: recycling. What is actually recycling? Recycling is the process of turning something into a new product. And for the course of this video, we're talking waste recycling. What is even waste recycling? Waste recycling is the process of turning waste into a new product. Before we dive deeper into the video, let's do a small exercise. You see underneath me, there's a button that is black just underneath me that reads subscribe. Click on it if you've never clicked on it. And also that button that looks like this, the like button, like this video, and then we can continue with the rest of the video. In this video, I'll share things that are in your dustbin that you can recycle instead of throwing them away. Don't go anywhere, because at the end of this video, I'm going to share how you can make money from what is in your dustbin. So stick with me to the end. So now you think, why should you actually recycle when you could just throw these things away? Well, a lot of resources were put into making everything that we have, from the toothpick that you use to the electronics that you use or the automobiles that you use. A lot of resources were put into making them. But when you use them and you throw them away, you throw away the resources that were used to make these products, because most of the time they are dumped in landfills or they are burned, and thereby burning away these resources that were used to make these products. But by recycling, you could reuse those resources that were already used to make those products, instead of going to look for new resources, which, by the way, the resources that we have are scarce, and after a while they could finish. So instead of going to go scavenge for new resources, you could just reuse those materials that were used to make that product in the first place. So that's why recycling is very, very important. So what are those things that your dustbin that you could actually recycle instead of just throwing away? Number one, plastic. Plastics are made from fossil fuels. Plastics are made from byproducts of crude oil production, and already a lot of resources were used to make those plastics, and even the environmental impacts of even making those plastics is disastrous to our environment, being that fossil fuel industries are one of the highest contributors to carbon emissions that is contributing to climate change. So they are one of the number one enemies of environmentalists. We need plastics for a lot of things that we do, because the way our consumption levels are wired and the way that the world is wired, plastics are used in almost every aspect of our lives. So we cannot just say, oh, we will not use plastics away, we'll throw them away. Or even the ones that you've used, you just throw them away. We still need those plastics. Instead of just throwing them away and they burn them, because even burning them has great environmental impacts to us. So instead of throwing them away, burning them, they clog our drainages and all that. Recycle them. There are recycling companies that collect them and they turn them to new plastics. They turn them to stuffings for pillows and blankets. They turn them to shoes. They turn them to clothing. I've seen clothes that were made from recycled plastics. They turn them to fashion accessories. There are a whole lot of things that they could turn these recycled plastics to. So instead of throwing away your plastics or burning them, please recycle them instead. Number two, nylon bags and pure water sachets. In Nigeria, plastic pollution abounds. Like, we are sitting on a ticking time bomb when it comes to plastic pollution. A lot of single-use plastic is being churned out every day. And in the case of nylon bags, in Nigeria, Nigerians can fight you and it's seen as a thing of disrespect if they go shop from you and you do not give them a nylon bag. No matter how small their purchase is, they can fight you for it. So we have a whole lot of nylon bags that we keep on collecting and collecting with each purchase that we make from any store. And most of the time we don't reuse them. And even when we say we reuse them, sometimes we don't reuse them. So what happens when we don't reuse them? Most of the time we throw them away, and most of the times they throw them away and they end up clogging our drainages, which contributes heavily to floods. They also pollute our waters, they also pollute our soil, because these days now you dig in some areas, you see plastic bags in the soil. The amount of single-use plastic bags that we keep on churning out is becoming a problem for us. So instead of just throwing them away, instead recycle them. There are recycling companies in Nigeria that collect these nylon bags and these pure water sachets, because we have a drinking water problem in some parts of Nigeria. They cannot have access to good drinking water, so they have to rely heavily on this water that comes in plastic packaging, which is no fault of theirs. But how do we dispose this packaging when we are done with it? That's now the big problem. Recycle them instead. There are companies in Nigeria that collect them, and I've done a video of some women in Abuja that turned these nylon bags and pure water sachets to fabrics. They weave them and they call them plabrics. They turn them to footwear, they turn them to bags, they turn them to tablecloths, table mats. There are a whole lot of things that they turn these things to. So instead of just going and burning these bags, still wahala for us and the environment, or just throwing them away and still wahala for us and the environment, recycle them instead. Number 3 is scrap metals. Scrap metals is one of the most common things that are recycled in Nigeria. If I live in northern Nigeria, and you see babambolas and you see some of them, the special, like, what they just want is just scrap metal. So they even have this like magnetic, I call it stick or what, magnetic, there's a magnet tied to a string, and they go around looking for the scrap metals because they are very, very valuable. Their market value is very high. So a lot of companies are always jostling for it, and it is a resource that can be recycled over and over and over. So when you think of the economic implications of going to look for new iron ore or new metal raw materials, they recycle the ones that have already been made, which is environmentally friendly and cost-effective friendly, and it contributes to the circular economy because you're reusing and recycling and reusing and recycling instead of just throwing them away. I doubt that if you go to major waste dumps, they will let any scrap metal survive a day. Please recycle your scrap metals. Number 5, e-waste. E-waste is electronic waste. So your laptops, your mobile phones, your televisions, your refrigerators, anything that is electronic that has maybe it has finished its life, so it's now a waste for you. Don't throw it away. There are people that actually buy these things from you to recycle them, because there are different components that make up those electronics. So you have the plastic parts, you have the metal parts, even the batteries, they recycle them. Please don't throw them away, recycle them. Number 6, glass bottles. Glass are made from sand, and sand is a resource that we have, but at the same time we cannot keep on just using and using without thinking of future implications. So it is beneficial for both us and the environment if we can recycle the glass that we have. There are companies that collect glass from us to recycle them to make other glass materials, make glass mirrors, or they collect things like glass bottles or glass plates, or things that are just mainly glass but not mirrors. Number 7, cartons. Cartons are made from trees. We cut trees to make cartons, and deforestation is actually a problem in the world because we keep on cutting trees to make a lot of things. The paper we use, urbanization, because people have to build homes because the world is becoming more of a global village. People have to build homes and all that. If we could reduce making new paper and making new cartons, and instead recycle the ones that we have to make other papers, to make other cartons, it is better for us and better for the environment, because the more trees that we cut, the more that we lose our carbon sinks. And these trees, the forests that we have, they collect the excess carbon that are in the environment, and they help us to combat climate change. So instead, recycle your old books, recycle old papers, recycle cartons that you have. There are companies that collect that from you, and so that you can use them to make new papers, new cartons, and we could reduce the dependence of cutting trees to make new papers and new cartons. Number 8, old car batteries. They recycle those batteries. Instead of just throwing them away, they give up certain kinds of chemicals like lead. So it is better for the environment and better for us instead if we recycle these old batteries. There are companies and individuals that even collect these old car batteries and recycle them and make new stuffs out of them. Now you see that if you recycle these items from the waste that you generate in your home, in your offices, or even in your place of business, you realize that you have reduced the amount of waste that you've accumulated drastically. And this could be one of the ways that we could be able to fight the waste crisis that we are currently experiencing in Nigeria. I did a video on top 10 recycling companies in Nigeria, and that could help you in your research for the companies that you could reach out to come collect your recyclable waste. I will also do an updated video of top recycling companies in different states so that you could be able, so that it will be easy for you to find these recycling companies to give your recyclable waste to. There are also a lot of informal recyclers all around us. In northern Nigeria, we call them Babambola. They go around to collect some of this waste and they sell them to bigger recyclers, who in turn sell them to bigger recyclers. So it's like a whole value chain, but they are helping the entire recycling value chain in Nigeria and even waste management as a whole in Nigeria. For me personally, I recycle with Ecobarter, and they marry tech and recycling. They have this app that if you download, you can just request for waste pickup. They come to your home and they come pick up your waste. For now, they do the service just in Abuja, but they also have a drop-off service in Lagos where they have drop-off hubs that you could go drop off this waste, and they in turn, they recycle them, or they sell them to bigger recyclers that will turn them to new product. And do you know that some of these recycling companies actually pay you for recycling your waste? Instead of you throwing away your waste, they'll actually pay you for you to give them your waste. Watch my next video for you to find out how. If you watched this video up to now, thank you very much. Please subscribe and like, and remember that you can be the change that you want to see. Joy of Kaduna, signing out.